Okay, so Tupac gets out and he feels some type of way about Biggie, whether he truly felt whether he set him up or whether he felt like, okay, Big's the number one guy, and by going at him, I can get to number one. Either way, he ends up dropping Hit 'Em Up. And what's interesting about Hit 'Em Up is actually uses the beat from Get Money, which is the video you were with. And I guess you were with Biggie the first time he heard Hit 'Em Up.
Yes. We were pulling up to somebody's video shoot, and, you know, like Puff was there. It was like a whole bunch of people there. And, you know, we hear the record and everybody's just like, everybody's mood just shifts. Cause it was, you know, it was a pretty vicious record. It definitely was not, it definitely was not a good day after that. Let's say that. I mean, it was kind of shocking, and, you know, I think in Big's mind, he was just really trying to figure out, like, what the fuck is going on, really? Because, you know, at some point, him and Pac were friends. So he's not really understanding at that point why Pac is going after him to this extent. Like, what is he's just on, you know, he's just trying to put his foot on his neck, and he didn't really understand it or, like, why he was doing it.
I mean, well, yeah, there's been tons of diss records in hip hop leading up to this. And I mean, dissing and, you know, beef is part of the hip hop fabric. But I felt with Hit 'Em Up, it got taken to a whole other level. People could diss you or whatever, but it starts off with, "This is why I fucked your bitch." And
yeah, it was like super, you know, personal and very disrespectful. So, I mean, obviously Big was upset, you know what I mean? Because he really just didn't understand where all this animosity was coming from at that time.
Well, yeah, and from what I understand, I've talked to Lil C's and some other people about this, and everyone in Junior Mafia was upset, and they wanted to jump in the booth and diss Biggie.
Everybody was upset, but I think on top of Big, you know, being upset, he was also confused and also a little hurt because, you know, at one point, you know, I mean, they weren't like best of friends, but they definitely had a relationship. They definitely were okay with each other. So he didn't understand where all of the animosity was coming from.
Well, yeah. From what I understand, Biggie told all the Junior Mafia members that if anyone drops a diss track to Tupac, they're kicked out of the group permanently.
You know, Mafia, we like, oh, we gotta do it, bro. We're about to respond to this shit, my nigga. And Big heard it, and Big was like, all right, you know, he was pissed, but then he was like, if anybody do a record responding to that shit, don't bother calling me, don't bother coming around me. I will not fuck with you if any of y'all do a record to this. Cause you know, Junior Mafia got their own art. They rap, he like, yo, you do that shit, I'm not fucking with you. I just think Big total intentions was like, yeah, he was heated about it, but you know, his thing was, I want to get up with this dude.
Right. I mean, you know, I think maybe in Big's mind, he felt like, you know, and again, I'm just speaking hypothetically because he never actually said this, but I think maybe he felt like, you know, maybe I can get to the bottom of this and figure out where all this is coming from because, you know, for a while, everybody was kind of clueless as to what the hell is the problem? Like, why is this getting so intense?
Right. So this happens, and now things are intense between Death Row and Bad Boy.
Right.
And then the Soul Train Awards happens. And this becomes the first time that Biggie and Tupac are face to face with each other for years.
Uh-huh.
Were you there at the Soul Train Awards?
No, I'm not even sure of exactly what you're talking about.
Well, there's a situation backstage at the Soul Train Awards where Biggie and Tupac, their entourages, run into each other.
Uh-huh.
And it almost turns into a whole thing. People start to draw guns and everything else like that. Don Cornelius actually has to step in between the situation and basically just tell people to just get in random cars before they start shooting each other, essentially. I think C. Gutta ends up pulling out a gun and so forth. And, you know, Lance on Rivera talks about the whole situation where he tells C. Gutta to shoot Suge, you know, if things start to escalate.
Wow.
And yeah, the whole thing is a mess, essentially.
Yeah, I don't remember that story at all. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've heard this story from multiple people who were there.
Mhm.
It was a disaster. And I remember Biggie even said the thing that kind of shocked him was that he knew Tupac. They used to hang out. Pac used to
Right.
come to
That's what I'm
Brooklyn, hang out with
saying.
them. They were in hotel rooms together and so forth.
Yeah.
And he said that when he saw Pac that night, he saw Bishop from Juice. He didn't see his friend Tupac Shakur anymore. He saw a character that was just kind of going crazy.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any recollection of that specific story, but I mean that kind of makes sense when it's worded like that.